Dr. Sundar Bharadwaj is a tenured professor of marketing at the University of Georgia's Terry College of Business in the MBA program. He holds a PhD of marketing from Texas A&M and has taught courses at Emory, the Indian School of Business, HEC in Paris, and UPenn's Wharton School of Business. He joins me today to talk to you, students for the full-time MBA program, about what you can expect at next year's courses. First off, thank you so much, Dr. Bharadwaj, for being here with me today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. We just wrapped up your class for the semester. I had an excellent time, learned a lot, really reinvigorated, my personal passion and love for marketing. So really excited to be here. The first thing I want to talk to you about is you had this one quote that I thought was really brilliant. It was, marketers make all the money, everybody else just spends it. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that and kind of the core of what we're going to learn in the marketing class?
Absolutely. So if you can divide any business into a demand side, which is interacting with customers, and a supply side, which is every action the firm does internally to deliver to the customers, marketing's primary responsibility is on the demand side, is to interact with customers, get the best customers, keep them, grow them. That's marketing's job. And if you look at the other functions in an organization, whether it's operations, whether it's finance, whether it's manufacturing, all of them are designed to deliver to what the customer requires. So that literally the revenues come from what marketing does. The rest of the organizations are designed to sort of utilize the revenues in an effective fashion to maximize the.
Right. You always talk about how the core of marketing is not to sell products, but to solve problems.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really excellent.
Absolutely.
You do a good job explaining how without the marketing team, we can't solve the problems. That's what's actually driving the revenue for the firm.
Absolutely. So if you think of how do you get and keep and grow good customers, you need to understand what the customers require. It's not the goal of a company to sell what it has, because there may never be a market for it, or it may be a poor fit with the market's needs. So the big job what marketing fundamentally does is to understand customer needs effectively, translate that into sort of features that the company needs to create to deliver the benefits the customers are looking for. So literally marketing is that boundary function. By offline, you'd be offline. If customers do both, you have to be present in both. So you got to track customers and deliver that. The more effectively you do that, the more likely the customer is going to buy. They'll buy you more often. They'll buy more of your product. They'll buy your related products, and they'll buy them at better prices. All of which means you got better revenues and higher revenues and quicker revenues coming back to the firm, which translates back into the valuation of the company. Companies are essentially about delivering cash flows and creating cash flows, and marketing's job is to bring those cash flows in.
Right. I think that is beautifully said. You have a really extensive history of teaching marketing at a very high level. A lot of the core people who are going to be watching this video are deciding between University of Georgia and other top business schools. You've been here for over 14 years now, and you've taught at some of the highest levels all around the world. What's kept you at Georgia, and why should a prospective student consider coming here?
Sure. What Georgia brings to the table is actually a very focused program, really, really creative. If you're looking for MBA programs to go to, I think you need to look at programs that are on the rise.
Right.
And we had a great example of a program on the rise. There are a lot of great programs in the world, but this is a program where the trajectory has been enormously successful. In the last 10 to 14 years, this school has grown leaps and bounds in terms of recruiting really great talent in terms of students, really great talent in terms of faculty, and try to provide them the best resources to be successful. And that in turn has built a very successful alumni base, gotten great companies to interact back with students. And so it's a great opportunity to be at a time in an organization which is on the upward trajectory, rather than an organization that's been there and sort of, the trajectory is either flat or declining. So where do you want to be? Do you want to rise with them and then hitch your wagon to a star? And we had a good example of hitching a wagon to a star.
I think that is excellently said. I can speak personally. It's my first year in the program, and I've been really impressed by, I'm in the middle of recruiting season right now looking for my internship. No matter what company I look at, top to bottom, they're alumni from this program at all levels, as high as the C-suite. The very first job I ever worked at was at United Talent Agency. It's the third biggest talent agency in the world. David Kramer, who is an alumni, recently got promoted to CEO, and he's well-deserved. And when I was there as a lowly intern, he took the time to meet me personally because of the connections from the University of Georgia. So I'm a huge personal advocate. Let's talk a little bit about marketing specifically. We talk a lot about what's happening today in marketing in your class. You make everything very relevant. That's one thing that really excites me. What are some things going on in marketing world right now that excite you?
The interesting thing about marketing is that everything that's happening in the real world has a direct impact on marketing. Obviously there's this huge impact of AI. And if you look at across functions, which function is likely to be most impacted and most likely to leverage AI is its marketing. The reason why that happens is that AI is the engine behind AI is data. And marketing fortunately has incredible data, also not just the data, but also the type of data and the velocity of data that marketing reaches out to is enormous. It gets just straight out quantitative data, has qualitative data, has videos, has audio, which means that both structured and unstructured data is available to marketing. And what's the best way to analyze that and leverage that is through AI. So clearly there's a the ability to leverage all this data is a big part of AI. The other big part of AI is the ability to take these things, take care of the more mundane, take care of the more day-to-day aspects of marketing, and leave marketers to do the more creative aspects. So it provides the marketers an opportunity to become a lot more creative and also use data and the insights from marketing to become more data informed in their creativity. So that's a big space that's exciting about marketing. The other big space that's exciting about marketing is this general domain of sustainability. And if you look at how sustainability is seen by other functions, people view these issues of climate or environment and so forth as a risk that needs to be mitigated. Whereas as a marketer, I'm looking at this and saying maybe there's an opportunity in terms of viewing it as an opportunity rather than a risk. And then looking at ways in which companies could create products, change the way they do things in the marketplace that helps deal with these kinds of concerns, so they're basically sustainability concerns, while at the same time being effective marketers. Right? So I'm looking at the sort of sweet spot of creating value for society and creating value for the firm.
I love that. I think one of the core tenets of things that I personally learned in your class was exactly that, this concept of good growth, the idea that it's not enough to just be sustainable. It's not enough to just have a social impact for your brand, but it has to drive positive growth for the company and be essentially a win on the P&L and drive ROI for the company. And the way you explain that, I think, is a really unique approach that you're not necessarily going to see at other programs out there. To kind of wrap things up, I guess I want to talk a little bit about how your approach has changed. You taught this similar course at Emory for over a decade. You've been here for almost 14 years. What is something that you've kind of been a core that you've done to make sure you keep things relevant for your students over the course?
So over the years, you start in a world when you first start out teaching to be more textbookish. And over time, there's no textbook that's assigned for this class. Right. There's none at all. So what we do primarily is to look at, there are multiple components where the class is sort of designed. We do a lot of live cases. We do this marketing discussion every single day that you come into class, which is really live cases. What's happening in the real world at that point in time? How is it relevant to the classroom? So we look at live cases. We also look at formal cases. And many of these cases I change pretty much every year. 30-40% of them changes every year to be sort of current with what's going on. The third aspect to it is also it's a class where you do a bunch of simulations. And so it's not just that you talk about it, not just you discuss it, but you also actively attempt to sort of work through it through simulations. The last component, which I think is, which you saw in your class this year, it's a live experiment and you guys were fantastic to participate, is to bring AI into the classroom. Right. To utilize AI, and as a parallel to everything that we were doing in class, you guys did a live project where you had to go in and do every single aspect that we did in class, all the way from looking at the marketplace, looking at how customers buy, how do they behave, how do they utilize AI as an agents in purchase behaviors, all the way down to doing research with customers, using synthetic data for research, segmenting, targeting. Every single aspect of that class was replicated with AI. So what I try to do is I interact a lot with companies from the outside world. And so to look at what are the key challenges they face and how are some of those challenges that can be brought in the classroom to build skills into you. So you're here for an education, not for training. Right. And so the key thing, the distinction between training and education is that it gives you a broader spectrum of experiences. So you can go in and slot yourself in any organizations and create value for those organizations by bringing in cutting edge thinking, which is where the aspect of doing research and teaching comes into play. The fact that I'm an active researcher enables me to bring in new thinking from a research perspective into the classroom as well.
Right. No, 100%. And it was really incredible to read some of your Harvard published studies in class, see how they were still relevant today over the years. Another one of the things I really enjoyed about your class was every day we start with what's going on in the world and how does it relate to marketing. You kept things very fresh and current, but also showing how things change over time. We had some older cases and some newer ones, but more than anything, there was never a single day of class where I left and didn't feel like there was something that I could take away and use. One of the best things you'll see if you join this program is his class is, it's one of the first ones you take, and it's prorated for the semester, which is important because when you're in the interview cycle like I am now, all the things you're going to learn in this class are directly relevant and things that you can bring up. How to be data informed by AI, what's going on in the world, how different companies are leveraging growth so that they can, move their cash flows. And it's just so useful in all the things I'm doing right now, and it's the same thing that you could as well. Dr. Bharadwaj, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you guys consider the Terry College of Business full-time MBA program. Going forward, we'll have a lot of profiles like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, David. This is a pleasure. Thank you.